Hi everybody, welcome back to E3D Designs. Today we're going to replace the original 150 by 200 heated print bed with our new 200 by 200 heated print bed. So let's get started. Alright, so for this part of the upgrade you're going to need your original heat bed. You're going to need your thermistor bracket with break-off template. You're going to need your aluminum plate or Y carriage that they called it. You will need your rep printed circuit board heat bed. You need your 4mm E3D glass plate. You need your sheet of adhesive back silicone. You need 4 of those 1/8 inch frame mirror brackets. You will need your pack of Easy Lock metric 3 to metric 6 adapters. You'll need 3 metric 3 nylocks. You'll need 6 metric 3 by 10mm screws. You'll need 3 metric 3 by 35mm screws. You will need 4 metric 3 heat sets. You will need a metric 3 tap and a 2.5mm drill bit. You will need a metric 6 tap and a 5mm drill bit. And I believe that's all we'll need for this part of the upgrade. So first thing we need to do is we need to go ahead and put our heat sets into our thermistor bracket here. Alright, once you finish putting your heat sets in, just go ahead and trim off any excessive plastic that might have pushed through. And then we're going to take your bracket here and we're going to mount it right here on the aluminum plate and the pre-drilled holes for the bearings. At least that's what I believe it was designed for, as a Y carriage. We're going to use it just a little bit differently. Just hold it in place using 4 of the metric 3 by 10mm screws. And once that's all nice and tight, we're going to drill some holes now. First thing we need is we need to drill out these 4 corner holes to our metric 5. And unfortunately I do not have a drill press anywhere I can easily set up a camera to it, so stay tuned and I'll be right back. Alright, so as you can see I've drilled out our 4 corner holes here with our metric 5 drill. What we're going to do now is we're going to go ahead and take our metric 6 tap and we're going to tap these 4 holes so we can insert these Easy Lock M3 to M6 inserts. Okay, so you can't really see it. I've tried to zoom in on it and I can't get it to focus, but I've now threaded all 4 of these corners with the metric 6 tap. The next thing we need to do is, using our template here, we're going to drill out right at this little hole here to the metric 2.5. Okay, and once you've drilled this hole out here to metric 2.5, this is why we call it the breakaway. You can just fold this piece back right here like this and remove the template and throw that away. Now we're going to tap this out to metric 3. Okay, so we've completed drilling and tapping our holes. Our metric 3 here, our 4 metric 6. I did these all on the drill press because we need this one especially, as well as these 2 here in the front, to be as true as we can, because that's where we're going to have our 3 bed leveling screws going down through, and so we want those to be as square as we can. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and trim our silicone mat to fit on here for an insulation and buffer between the heater and this plate. Now I ordered a bigger sheet. I use this stuff for all sorts of other things. You could order a smaller sheet. I'll get my basic size here, and then I'll stick it down and cut out all these additional holes, and we'll also have to cut out a path for the wiring, but it's nice to go ahead and trace it out anyway. And this is a junk countertop. I don't recommend cutting on your nice home countertops. It's liable to get you in trouble with somebody. Save your leftover. There's millions of other projects you could probably use this for. And let's see. Oops. I do want to mark my 4 corner holes. Alright, now I marked these 4 holes. We need to open those up so that when we put our thread or easy locks in there, they can come up through a little bit. Now you can cut those out by hand, or if you're lucky enough you have one of these handy dandy hole punches that you can get at any hardware store. I'm just going to pop these 4 corners out using the largest opening it provides me with. Alright, now the next step we need to do is we need to put in our thread lockers on all 4 corners here. Now these little bags come with usually 5. Occasionally they're extra. It looks like this one has extra. They sent me 7 in that pack for some reason. I'm not going to complain. Now you can buy a special tool to put these in with one of your standard little 7 level, trade show screwdrivers. Works just as good. We're going to start from the bottom. Now these already have red thread Loctite on them. We're going to obviously run them through until they're just about flush with the bottom of the plate. That way we get the offset that the silicone will wrap around. Alright, I put all 4 of those on there. Next step is to peel off our adhesive backing and put this in place. Now we will need to cut out right here around these screws, so this will set flush there. Make sure you leave that little piece along there because the thermistor is going to sit on top of that. And now the next thing we'll need to do is lay our heater out on here and figure out where we need to. And we're going to run this back the bottom of the carriage like this. You're going to want to lay your wiring, figure out, okay, start point and end point. You want the wiring to come out back here just beside your thermistor. We want to make an opening here in the front so we can see the LED and that the wiring can fit neatly. Usually you get the pencil to show up good enough. Now I'm going to cut it back about that far. And I'm just going to give myself a path for it to run. That piece out. I'm going to test fit this. See how good of a job I did. Usually it takes a little bit of teaching the wire to follow the right path. There you see. Wiring's in there nice and neat. It's not touching the metal frame, and we'll be able to see the LED that lights up in there when it's turned on. Now I'll just go through and cut out this excess right here, and we'll be ready to install this. Alright, so we just have a few last things to do to this before we're ready to start working on some other pieces. We need to trim this just a little bit more so we can get to that screw hole from the back side. We're going to thread down one of our 35mm metric 3 screws, and while we're doing that, we're going to go ahead and put one of our metric 3 nylock nuts on there. What this is going to do, when we put the springs back on here for the bed leveling, this is going to help keep that spring centered on our metric 3 screw. Alright, so we've got that on there nice and tight. And the other thing we need to do is we need to take our thermistor off of this old heat bed, and we're going to mount it right here on our new one. And many times you can get lucky and just slide that right out. And if you make the same mistake I did and you cut too much of this silicone out, that's the beauty of this stuff being adhesive back. Grab some of your scrap here, cut off a little piece, stick it right in there like that. That way we help keep it up against the bottom of the circuit board. Now we're just going to fasten this back down. Alright. The aluminum plate with silicone is ready to mount our printed circuit board. We just need to cut the ends off of our leads here and set up our wiring harness, and then we need to trim our 1/8 inch mirror brackets to hold our glass plate in place. Alright, so from our old 150 by 200 print bed, we're going to need at least part of these black wires that go to the heater. We'll also need the red and black wire harness, and we'll need this wire loom. We will not need the 2 blue wires because that was part of the old bed leveling system. It's done through the nozzle, which we're not going to be using anymore. And to be honest, the Vinci bed leveling was horrible. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and cut all these zip ties that are in our way. Go ahead and take off the wire loom. Save your wire loom, we will reuse that. We need to pop off our RF filter here. Take out. And of course they did it to me again. A lot of times it seems like these blue wires are interlaced through just because of the way they ran it. We're going to save our red and black wire here. And what I usually do is I usually just line up my printed circuit board just like this. Follow these wires down, and wherever these end is where I cut the leads off of the old one, because that's how long we need. And then this I would usually throw over my shoulder and say junk, but I don't want glass all over the floor. But this is now junk. We don't need it. Scrap it. Throw it away. Use it as a piñata in your backyard. I really don't care. And we're going to go ahead and strip these wires down and solder them on to this. Nice thing is the heater, the polarity does not matter. Set this in place. Plug our thermistor back into the cable here. Grab a few zip ties just to help us keep everything in place. We can put our wrap back on here, our wire loom. Alright, so this part of the heat bed is pretty much done. We just need to cut these 4 window frame brackets down, and I'll show you how we're going to do that next. Alright, so we're going to take these brackets. If you look at them real close, you got one side that the hole is very far away from the bend and one that it's kind of close. This is the part that we're going to mount right here. We want to go ahead and cut off right along that opening. Make it so we can just slide it in over the screw. And then we have to cut this one right across like this. And then we're going to just leave that little tab right there. And all this will go. We're going to make 2 like that. And then we're going to make like this, mirror image of each other. Alright, I'm going to go take these to my metal shear and trim off some of this excess before I hit it with the Dremel to clear up this nice little tab here on the corner. Alright, so we started with a piece like this, and now we've trimmed it down something more like this. This notch will line up right here with the hole. Now we just need to notch this out, so we just have a little corner piece. We're trying to keep as much of the bed as usable as possible so the nozzle doesn't have anything to really hit. Alright, so now we've gone from this to this. And we're going to make another one identical to this, and then like I said, then we'll make two more that are mirrored with the tab over on this side. Last thing to do with this is just take your file, clean up all these corners and edges a little bit because you don't want any sharp edge. It's going to score and possibly make the glass crack. Alright, so I finished shaping all of these with my Dremel on a carbide cutting wheel. Lay these out for you to see here. As you can see, we have two going each direction. Now we're going to go ahead and mount these onto our board and mount our glass. Alright, so what we want to do is we want to mount these with the tabs as close to the front and rear edges of the build plate. So what we're going to do now is we're going to run our two 35mm ones down through the front and use our last two nylock nuts, and then we'll use the other two on the back corners here, and we'll put our glass plate in. Okay, now the front two are the harder to work with, so I'm going to put those in first before we put the glass plate in. I'll do the same as before. I'm going to put the nylock on. To make it easier for me, I'm going to put a pair of vice grips on here just to help hold that in place. And we'll leave that shallow enough. Put our clip in there. Do a little slack until we get the glass bed on. That's close enough for now on this one. Now, before you put your glass plate on, you get a rag or your shirt sleeve. Try and get as much of the fingerprints as you can off of this, because, well, whatever's under there once you get the glass plate on is there for good. Unwrap your very carefully packed 4mm glass plate that you got from E3D. I gotta compliment them. They're very good at wrapping this up. Get our brackets positioned. And do the same thing over here. Now, one thing I've noticed, and it seems different with every single one of these, occasionally you may need to make this notch a little deeper so the glass plate will slide in, and this appears to be the case. So I'm going to pull this back just a little bit, take these out, and go hit them with the Dremel and extend my slots just a little bit. Alright, so I've extended the notches just a little bit, test fit everything, and we're just going to put in these last two screws here, and we can tighten this all down. Now, if you may recall, when we put these easy locks in, we stuck the excess out the top so it would be flush with this silicone. So you're just going to snug these down until the board makes contact with that easy lock, and that's all you need to do. There we go. Here is our 200 by 200 heated build plate, ready to be installed into our printer. Okay, so now we just need to install our heat bed into the printer. You will need your 3 new thumb wheels if you haven't printed them already, and you will need the 3 bed leveling springs. So what we're going to do is we're going to take our build plate, feed the wiring back in through the opening at the back of the Z carriage. Just pull it out the side of the printer for now. Now here's the tricky part. I try to actually balance all 3 of these springs in place here. And then very carefully drop the screws down through them, through the openings in the Z carriage. It'll look like that. One back there in the middle. Go over here. Now we just need to put our thumb screws on, and lo and behold, I forgot to put the heat sets in. So we need to put our heat sets in this. All right, you all seen me do it before, so with a little bit of TV magic, we now have heat sets in our thumb screws. Just gonna go ahead and install all 3 of them. Now for the safety of our last bed, I'm going to go ahead and crank these down pretty much until the springs are compressed. So we don't accidentally bury our print head into it. All we have to do now is connect our wiring. I'm going to take our wiring, feed it through the back hole in the printer here. And go ahead and install our RF filter on here again. And we're going to make our connections for our heater. I said before, polarity does not matter. And lastly, connect our bed thermistor, which goes right up here, and you can't see it. And it goes right up here at the top. Now we've completely connected our 200 by 200 heated print surface. Alright, so that wraps up installing our 200 by 200 heated print bed. In our next episode, we're going to go ahead and relocate the power switch to the front of the printer. So we're going to have to do a little bit of cutting on that bottom plastic panel. We're going to do that just because I hate having to reach around to the side of that printer to find that switch. I like it right up front where it's easy to turn on and off the printer. So homework for next episode is print that little filler plug for the power switch. And well, remember, if you like what we're doing here on the channel, subscribe, ring that bell for updates. There's a wish list and PayPal me link at the bottom if you want to help support the channel. And remember, if it ain't broke, upgrade it. We'll see you next time.